We're back. We're back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast.
No one's letting you forget in the club. That is for fucking sure.
Are you in lots and lots of pain? How bad is the pain?
Fuck you fucking asshat. Have fun dancing in the floor.
Number one, why am I falling? Number two, you ruined everything.
Oh, so good. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh, we are just... Christine, you can't see this because it's just audio. She's doing jazz hands, which I love. Like, I love a good jazz hand. I mean, I was in performance choir growing up, and I learned the art of a jazz hand. And, like, there's different kinds of jazz hands. You know who I talked to about this? In depth. Jeremy, Long Distance Love Bombs.
Oh, geez.
I think
of course.
The very first time he had me on his podcast, we got into this tangent about jazz hands, and we were recording in my kitchen. And so we were on like his podcast, a mic in between us, and I'm like giving him a tutorial in real time of how to do jazz hands. It was immaculate. And if you don't know who Jeremy Long Distance Love Bombs is, don't worry, we'll have him on the podcast soon. Because he is immaculate and we are obsessed. Like, he's just the coolest. But he's not on the podcast today, unfortunately.
And guys, did you like just the tip? Did you enjoy the tip?
Did you enjoy it? We loved it. I loved that. I'm really into
it was great for us.
We're wondering, was it great for you too? And... you know, as promised, we're going to riff today on the bigger kind of picture, the bigger canopy of that theme, which is really the dark side of personal development, the dark side of spiritual development, the dark side of relational development. Because I know for me, the more I learned, the more my perspective opened, the more I became like truly understanding around the people in my life and what they were going through. And it wasn't until this weekend, actually, not this weekend, but the one before, where I had this huge tectonic shift. And I was in a writing clinic, and we were writing about the masks and the identities that we have constructed and that we have lived through. And the thing that came out on the page was the identity of being understanding. And as soon as it came out, I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. Like, we're getting on a ride and it's going to be a doozy. And what I started to unpack was this thread of, I am kind of known in my circle as being really understanding. Like, I'm the person that people come to when shit is hitting the fan because I don't have a lot of criticism or judgment. I will meet people with a lot of approval, a lot of understanding, a lot of compassion with what they're going through. And that's really beautiful in certain situations and certain dynamics. However, I started to see that there was a long-standing pattern that me being understanding came at the cost of my connection to self. It came at the cost of getting my needs met inside of those relationships. So on one hand, like, it is a really powerful skill for me to have in terms of the work that I do. Like, it sets me apart from a lot of people in the industry. However, in the back end of my life, it's done me so fucking dirty. Like, so dirty. Because it's had me stay in relationships or in partnerships, in projects, in situations that aren't honoring for me. But I can kind of go so far out and be like, well, I understand why this is happening. I understand why they are the way that they are. I understand why they're behaving the way that they're behaving. And that's really great. But unless there's actual reciprocity in that, and the other person is also as deeply intrigued and curious about understanding me, it quickly becomes imbalanced. And then once it becomes imbalanced and my needs aren't being met chronically, well, then it's a dumpster fire waiting to happen. So we thought we'd talk about it today. Because both of us share this thread, like, of being really understanding and potentially staying past the point of when we should, because we can rationalize anything. We can justify anything. We're compassionate people. Like, my heart is fucking huge and it bleeds for people. And I hate when people are hurting. And what I didn't realize until I did this deeper dive was that I wasn't giving myself that same level of compassion. I wasn't caring about my own hurt to the same degree I was caring about other people's hurt and other people's pain. And that created the conditions for me to be really mistreated, misused, used in relationships, or just have these dynamics where they're imbalanced. And so there is this resentment that starts to bubble. So that's where we're going today. Strap in.
Strap in, strap on. Here we go. I mean, yeah, all of that. Well, Kelsey and I, we were riffing on a conversation that spawned a few nights ago, and I had brought something similar to her in a conversation where I told her, I was like, oh, I need to like name something. And she's like, oh, tell me. Like, love it. She's like, open the door, tell me all the things. And I'm like, I have this like shadow persona. And I'm like, it's like the personal development princess shadow. Like, and there was this absolute self-righteous, like, fuck you energy that I just like went rogue and journaling one day. She just went like, she was like, fuck you. I've done all the right things. I've ticked the boxes. I've been understanding. I've been overly understanding. I've given you space. I've given you this. I've given you like all these things. Where's mine? Like, where is, like, why am I not winning? Why am I not having the outcome that I want? And it was this like really shadowy moment of like, whoo, shit. And it was like, I was using personal, like my knowledge of personal development. I've been in the industry for years and have done so much work with mentors and, you know, all these different, so many different modalities and learning about these things, that it was like, I felt like I used that very unconsciously sometimes in relationship, in areas, not with my, like, I definitely don't feel like that bleeds into clients. Like, I didn't feel like that was in client relations. But it was very much coming into contact with that in terms of like relationship, and just how frustrated I was that I was, quote unquote, doing everything right. And being so understanding and all these pieces. And I was like, the perfectly crafted responses.
Yeah.
They would get an A++, plus, 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 plus.
Yep.
In the like, somebody check this response out. Tell me, is there any, like, you know, it feels super clean. It feels energetically. And I still wasn't yielding the results that I wanted. And there was this like, this like self-righteous energy of like, I should get the result I want because of look how good I'm being. Yes. And look how much, you know, this like super interesting like piece. And I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, I didn't even realize behind the scenes that wasn't real and authentic to my experience. I was fucking pissed. Yeah. And I was irritated when some of these things went down. And I was like shocked. And I was like, this is horseshit. That was my reality. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I totally understand. You know what? I know your trauma is bigger than my trauma. So like, maybe I should just, you know, like, it's just, you know, and that's so familiar, right? It's like, I'm the one who's done more of the work. I'm the one who's, quote unquote, further ahead or whatever it is. And it was a very interesting shadow piece to view and to be like, what, and this is something you and I are on a mission, like, around, is like, what does authentic me and my experience, like being really in contact with that, look like and feel like, and noticing those pieces. And it was just an area that, again, I had allowed to go on. It was very unconscious. Like, it wasn't a conscious thing I was doing, but it was causing a lot of internal conflict. I just knew somatically, I knew like emotionally, that things were off, and I couldn't quite understand, because I'm like, well, I'm doing all the right things. Mm-hmm. And I think this is why we're bringing up this conversation, is to notice is like, my mentor also said this to me as well. She's like, the more evolved you become, she's like, the sneakier your survival parts get.
Yes.
They get very sneaky. Like, it's like almost like you see it. If a coach mm-hmm. or a therapist or somebody who's goes into a personal development workshop themselves, they mm-hmm. sometimes come in with this like, well, I already know everything, and so like I'm just here as like a spectator. I'm not going to go too deep. Those parts are wild. It's like we don't want to, it's like I'm supposed to be this persona of this person who knows all the things and knows the right response, and it's these pieces of armor that we don't sometimes even realize that are there. Do I know a lot? Fuck yes. Do I feel like in general I'm pretty squeaky clean? Yes. And did I see that coming? Oh no, I didn't. I didn't realize how much even I was using that persona as a way to keep myself protected, a way to keep myself distanced from people, a way to not show my vulnerability. Because had I been vulnerable, I would have just said like, this doesn't feel good, and I don't really even know how to have this conversation, but something feels off, and can we just talk about it? Can you hold space for me to be kind of messy in this? Because I don't really know, even though I can handle this very well with clients and stuff, like when it's our own, what do they say? They're like even brain surgeons don't do their own surgery. Like we need spaciousness. We need places to be messy. So I think it's like, and if this is striking some, chords in you, it's looking at, are you the one who's the more evolved one in your relationship? Are you the friend who everyone goes to, who's like the understanding one? And what does that cost you sometimes, right? And it doesn't mean you need to go fucking rogue and start going apeshit on people, but it's like, well, fuck you. I've been so understanding. You know what? Fuck you. But it's looking at like this balance of, it doesn't always have to be you. And oftentimes this does come from, if you're in your childhood, if you're more of the savior, or if you're the one who's having to like, be the adult really early, or you're having to be the quote unquote wise one, or the like, all these pieces that I think can prime us for this of like, oh, good job. You're the one who's understanding. And it's like, yay, where's my medal? Oh, my medal is that I'm actually like completely unfulfilled, and like everyone else is happy because I've been so understanding, but my well is dry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm mad as fuck.
And I'm so fucking pissed about it. And then when that like inner rage comes up, because I mean, this is more of like the spiritual side of it, the spiritual side of this work can often demonize and make wrong anger. And it's not spiritual to be angry. The fuck it
low
isn't.
Vibe, Kels. It's low vibe.
Low vibe.
Anger is low vibe.
Yeah.
Low vibe. Don't be hashtag low vibe.
Exactly. And so it gets suppressed and repressed. And then a lot of the times it gets taken out on yourself. So you'll be like inwardly aggressive to yourself, and then externally passive aggressive with other people, which then bleeds into your relationships and it fucks them right up. Like, there's, sorry to say, but like there's no other way to be blunt. Like that's what's going to happen. Like if you inject any degree of passive aggressive energy into your relational dynamics, or straight up aggression, you are literally setting fire to that relationship and you're about to burn it to the ground. It's very rare that people can fully recover from months, years of that passive aggressive energy, because it's so like twisted and coated with resentment. And there's so many layers you're going to have to get through, and you're going to have two pretty evolved people who are able to unpack that. And let's be honest, if we've gotten ourselves into that mess, there's a high probability that the person that we're with may not have the skills or the desire to kind of take that all apart and then recreate something new. And so it's so important that we dive into this conversation and we look at those shadow identities that we have constructed, or those protector identities that we've constructed in order to make sense of and get through really difficult situations. Like me becoming overly understanding, and I hate that I'm about to say this, but it is a fucking trauma response. It was a response to some really fucked up shit that happened in my earlier years that I didn't have control over. And the only thing I had control over was, well, if I learn how to read the room really well, if I learn how to read people's energy and understand what's going on with them, maybe I can prevent the pain. Maybe I can, avoid setting off the landmines, even though I don't know where the landmines are. And that's the thing about people who carry landmines, is they don't even know where they are. So they can't tell you where the map is, and they can't tell you what's going to set them off. And so that will usually create a dynamic relationally where one person who's, unbeknownst to them, hitting landmine after landmine becomes more externally focused. Because to not be externally focused means that you are not only hitting the landmine, but like it's whacking you again and again and again. And sometimes you are blamed for the landmine, even though it was never your fault. And so that's a really hard thing for either a child or an adolescent or even a young adult to have to navigate. And so we come up with these strategies, not consciously, but our system is so intelligent and it wants us to survive that it's almost instantaneous. So let me figure out real fast how I'm going to get through this. Well, for me, the strategy was becoming understanding. And like I said, there is the shadow side of that, and there's the impact that that's had on me relationally. But then there's also the gift of it, which is how I show up in the work that I do in the world. I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't have had that protector come on board and run that program. So we're not sitting here making those parts wrong. That's a really, really, really important piece, because without those parts, you wouldn't be at this juncture where you're listening to this conversation, potentially having your own breakthroughs around it. We want to be grateful for those parts of thank you for getting me to this point. But there's an inevitable point where we can't continue running that pattern if we want what we say that we want, whether it's the relationship, whether it's the dream life, whether it's the healthy body, whatever it is that we're after. There are certain patterns that can only take us so far. And when you start to see these more shadowy patterns, those are the ones when they come out into the open, we know that, oh, you want to be retired. That's what's happening here. And it's not that I am a shitty person and, that I'm a dum-dum and I should shame myself for not spotting it sooner, or whatever the fuck, the inner critic wants to spin. It's, oh, this part's come up for me because it's ready to be retired. I'm ready to step into a different way of relating in all of my primary and important relationships. And the cool thing about this unlocking was that it wasn't just in that writing workshop where it just clicked and boom, it was wide open. It was a series of events that had been happening for a couple months, that each time one of these things happened, I was I don't like that. That doesn't feel good. Oh, what is that? Ew. And so I had to kind of collect these experiences that seemed unrelated. And yet I could start to see the thread, because they were all happening with men in my life and different forms of relationship. But each dynamic, I was left feeling kind of depleted, and I was left, that dry well feeling of I just poured into you. I just held space for you. I understand everything that you're going through. And then once you get what you need, you're okay, bye. That's all I need. See ya. And the truer parts of me that have obviously come online in the last few years were fucking pissed. My true self was that is not fucking okay. These dynamics need to shift. And we're no longer going to be like holding all of this space. And it's not just men, like just for people. Mm-hmm. And not getting anything reciprocal in return. We're done with that pattern. And so I had to have those very visceral, in real time experiences with people in my life. And they're not bad people. Like, I love all of them. They're beautiful people who just were like in it. And because they were in it, and this is the thing, when we're in breakdown, we become far more narcissistic. Like, when we are like in the fucking weeds, we're not relational anymore. And so, again, I could understand why they were being the way that they were being. And I was rationalizing why I didn't need to advocate for myself in those conversations. And it wasn't until the writing workshop where it all kind of came together, where I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
Here we go.
Here we go. And that's how these things can kind of unfold. They don't necessarily like always come out of the woodwork guns blazing, where you're just going to have like this moment of clarity. It's usually like this slow and steady, like little hiccups along the way, like little things that kind of, you're like, oh, that's uncomfortable, or like, oh, I didn't like that, or like, oh, stop it. And like we're kind of like swatting away flies until we get to the moment where something happens, and it could be a person says one word. And that's what happened for me. Like, there was one word. It was the word understanding that got said to me. And then the next day I go into the writing clinic, and then that prompt happens of like, what identities are you carrying that are no longer really in service to you? What masks are you wearing? And so like all of these things needed to happen in order for me to have that breakthrough. And then you and I have a conversation the next day that helps me digest it and process it and make sense of it even more. And for the first time, I'm actually turning the focus onto myself. Instead of being so externally focused, I'm now internally focused and seeking to understand what that was all about for me, instead of being focused on everybody else. And then from that conversation, like I went on one of my weed walks after, and I come back home, go on TikTok, go down this rabbit hole of this one artist that I've never heard of before, and then go find his music on Spotify. And there are these two songs that I can't stop listening to. And so I just keep them on repeat for about an hour and a half. And then I have this huge emotional release last night. And while I'm having this emotional release, my spirit, myself, my inner being is like, grab your phone and start writing. And so I start writing, and like there's 3 distinct pieces of poetry that came through last night around this whole pattern for me. And like the tears didn't stop, the music didn't stop until I had gotten all the way through. And it was about an hour and a half. And it wasn't like full crying the whole time. I would have like moments of reprieve, and then it would hit me again. And for the first time, I was actually touching and like really starting to welcome back these parts of me that I had abandoned in my pursuit of being understanding for everyone else. And they were really young, and they were really scared, and they were like literally terrified to come out into the open. And so I just like set the scene, like low lighting, like really warm blankets, like just like lots of like self-touch, and like being like, you're good, we're okay, I'm here with you, like I'm not going anywhere. Everything that we teach in the club. And after that processing happened, I'm like, oh, okay. And then it was clear. I was like, I guess it's time to watch Bridgerton.
2 out to handle, on deck.
Time to go to bed. We'll get up and start a new day tomorrow. And like that's how these things happen sometimes. Like it's mysterious, it's magical. But we have to be willing to be taken on the ride. Because if there was any spot in there where I was like, ooh, no, I'd like to keep that identity, please. Well, that breakthrough, that shift, that opening wouldn't have happened in my system. I wouldn't have these 3 new pieces of poetry. I wouldn't have the clarity that I have today of like, I'm going to show up really differently going forward and advocate for a more balanced relational dynamic. And it doesn't mean that I have to make any of those people wrong, because I don't. But going forward, the game changes. And that's a really powerful place to be.
Mic drop, preach. The sermon is complete.
The sermon is complete.
Oh, God, the storytelling. I'm like along for the ride. I'm like, even though you and I have had this conversation, I was like there with you. I'm like, just keep telling me, keep talking. Voice is like butter. I'm soothing. I'm relaxed. I'm going to get my popcorn and my blanket down behind the scenes. But what a brilliant, what I just want to name is at the end there, what a great example. If listening right now, we are listening because you're listening to this fucking episode, but like, if you're listening, is your example of personal responsibility. We talk about this a lot, and I think this is an area as well in personal development that sometimes we can get ourselves into trouble with, because when we're overly responsible, this is sort of where self-gaslighting comes in these pieces where it's sort of like, oh, well, what's this saying about me? What do I need to fix here? What do I need to do? And I'm guilty of that so many times. Like I'll be in a dynamic and I don't necessarily trust myself in my response because I haven't been in a healthy, in a healthy dynamic in that sense, or I'm still learning about what healthy looks like and feels like to me.
Sure.
So there's that like almost gaslighting of like, well, is there something about me? And like doing that work before coming to conversation. And I think the invitation is to sometimes just show up in a little bit more of that mess. Just open, vulnerable state, right? That just sort of like, I don't know, but like speaking it into existence has been really powerful for me as well. Like I'm still learning communication when things go south. My natural internal system is to shut down if I have to have a hard conversation. I really don't like to face hard things and to have uncomfortable conversations. So my system naturally avoids it. And so stepping towards conversations where I have been, quote unquote, very understanding to the point of detriment to me and that person, because it's not in service to me or the person for me to be so understanding, because the person thinks I'm genuinely being understanding and I'm getting frustrated and resentful behind the scenes. And sometimes you don't realize that until it's too late. Sure. Like it's like, I heard one time resentment is like hardened anger. It's like over time, it just like, the energy just balls and balls and balls and balls. But back to the personal responsibility piece for you, you said, I don't need to make any of these people wrong. Like they're great people, because in a healthy way, not in the way I just spoke about, but you're seeing your co-creation in that dynamic, right? Because I think this is where a lot of the times it's easy to blame somebody and it's their fault, and look at the way they're being, and they should be more relational, and they should be more they should be the ones who are more understanding, and they should be more in integrity. And of course, our ego, we want that. Of course, it would be great if people are more like that. But the reality is that sometimes people aren't. But in that moment, you don't need to sit here and villainize anybody for not showing up in the way that you need. Your understanding, the parts of you, the sort of more survival parts, and same thing for me as well, who are online, right? Who have been running the show unconsciously, making our decisions, sending our text messages, like the ones like, no, don't get mad. Don't say the truth. Just say what is going to be better, and then you won't maybe have them abandon you, or you might not rupture the relationship, because that would be scary. So like, just do this. Just send that message. It's really, really nice. And we're like, that's a great idea. Oh, that feels really clean. That feels right up the personal development alley. That feels very expansive response.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then, but you're saying it's not about them. It's about the parts of me who are online, who got in that relational dynamic and co-created that outcome. Because nothing is a singular thing, right? It is always a co-creation, and it doesn't make us bad or wrong or needing to shame ourselves. It's just understanding that these survival parts can be very sneaky sometimes.
So
and the more
sneaky.
self-aware you get, the more, and this is why Kelsey and I love to call ourselves out and forward all the time, to say, hey, this is what we're moving through, and this is what it looks like in real time, and this is kind of the things that are coming up. This is how we navigate them, because it is our responsibility to clean those pieces up so that we don't keep repeating the patterns over and over again, right? And it feels like, at least I know you and I have both shared this commonality. We are both in massive cycle and pattern breaks right now. I mean, the shit that's coming up with my family, the shit that's coming up in business for me, like in partners, like all this stuff, like it is calling me forward almost like it's just like, okay, I'm surfing. Okay. If I don't surf, I'm going to like be in the water and like get pummeled by these fucking waves. So I'm going to have to get up and surf and get knocked down and get back up again, because there's no other way. Because you and I have we're leading this movement. We're coming. Let's go. Let's be authentic. And the universe is like, amazing.
Excellent.
Let's show you in all the motherfucking ways where you are not yourself at a hyper speed. Here you go. Have fun. Here is this test. Here is this example. What are you going to do over here? Are you going to do this over here? And I know, again, many of our club members have expressed similar things. They're like, holy shit balls. You said this was going to be a rocket ship, but this is like, the transformations that are happening in there right now with the participants is mind-blowing. Like, these things are happening, and because Kelsey and I are also in the work actively, we are also able to help walk you through this in the club, through our coaching and through our teachings and through our somatic embodiment process. And we're basically just saying, this is what we do. This is like a myriad of tools to help you navigate this. But I think this is it's such a fascinating topic. I don't think it's talked about a lot. I think there's a lot of this like sort of hierarchy in the spiritual world, and that certain things are not good and certain things are villainized, and this is low vibe and this is high vibe, and all these pieces that I think can be really, really confusing. But pieces of ourselves that are adaptive survival strategies are not high vibe because they are not because they're bad or wrong, but because they're not authentic. It's not truly who we are. So it's just more around like becoming. And I think this is why you and I teach some of these concepts in a really beautiful way, is because we make them very playful. It's not about, I'm bad and I'm wrong and all these pieces. And Kelsey and I are actually right now in like deep innovation in the club, bringing forward things like club cravings and things that our community wants more of, and the topics they want to see in this club. We'll talk about it a little bit, like these club confessionals where, as Brene Brown says, like shame can only live in the shadows of where things are hidden, where things are like, oh, I can't say that because somebody will think. Like, it's when I share some of my shit that my clients have the most breakthroughs, because they're like, oh my God, you're taking this concept and we do this as well in the club, right? It's like you're taking concepts and you're storytelling and how it actually applies into life. Like, those are some really potent things. I think seeing that we are all in this together, we are all in the arena, and especially if you're like a creator or a artist or you're an entrepreneur or somebody who's like got a really heart-driven business, like you can get pummeled. Like, it can be one of those things when you're in the arena. I mean, shit's going to come up, and it's like what you do with it, right? Like Kelsey and I having these patterns rise up. It's an opportunity. It's trusting, number one, that these are coming up because they are asking to be clear. They're showing us. They're like, we love you, and we see the path you're on, and bitch, you're trailblazing. So you know what? I know this protective part's like, okay, fine, I'll put down the armor. And we're like, oh my God, let me scoop you up. I love you. You've been protecting me for so long. Let's like give you a shower, clean you off, give you a bath, go rest on the couch, like, throw on Netflix and chill, and like get on the back and we'll go together. Like, I love you, but you're in the back seat now. I'm going to buckle you up into the baby seat. Like, you're not driving anymore. Right. So it's like and then our path, this like, Kelsey and I have been talking about like helping you really design this like rich, juicy as fuck life. And what that means is like really rich in all forms. Yes, abundance, and yes, financially, and yes, all these pieces, but it's so much more than that. It's about like, do you feel rich in relationships? Do you feel rich in your career or business? Do you feel rich in the way you move through your day? Like, there's so many pieces to this rich life that we're helping you create. And it's through these unconventional topics, because again, what is hidden in the shadows, that shame can only exist in the shadows. So why we are bringing to light some of these things and talking about them is because, it helps Kelsey and I literally dissolve shame. It helps, people in the club as well. Like, we're starting these confessionals as well, because we want people to say, I want to be witness in something I maybe am like nervous to talk about, or this or that. And then there's, like you said, there's that permission and acceptance piece, which when we don't resist or fight anything and we're not at war with things, I mean, we talked about this on our last podcast, and the body, like dropping the internal war with the body. Mm-hmm. But when we drop the war, there's just peace. It's just like silence. Mm-hmm. It's just like
smooth.
Create smooth. It's smooth. It's buttery smooth. Ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just so smooth. Be like, you want to do this? Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
But like, even just that smoothness, that's exactly the spot, and that's how I knew I was through it last night when I was doing that processing, because it was like tumultuous. It was chaotic. There was a lot of kind of feeling like I was being whipped around on the ocean, right? And there's an inevitable moment where if you stay with it, if you keep surfing, if you like instead of fighting the wave, you move with the water, you move with the current. That's how people fucking drown, by the way, is they fight the current. They fight the wave instead of moving with it. And so whether that's in real life, literally, or more metaphorically, energetically, emotionally, relationally, it parallels. It's the same. And so last night, I just let myself kind of be tossed around by those choppy waters. And just stayed with myself through it and like kept listening of like, okay, well, what's next? What's next? What needs to be witnessed next? What do I need to understand here? What do I need to see? What do I need to feel? Like what part needs to like come out into the open? Like that needs to be like given a bath and like given some love and some snuggles and like, let's just tuck you into bed where you can finally fucking rest.
Yeah.
And then once that whole process was complete, there was that smoothness. It's like the ocean just like softened. Everything went still. It's like when you see those pictures of a pristine like lake or like the pristine ocean, and it's just gorgeous and it's still. And that's what happened like once I was through the process, and I was like, okay, I'm complete. And I am clear now of what needs to happen next. And it's not about like, I'm going to go and like drudge up the past and da 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 da. It's not that. It's like, I'm moving powerfully from this new point forward. Going forward, this is how I'm going to show up. And it's the commitment I make to myself from that place of deep understanding and inner standing, which is something that clearly my system has been priming me for my entire life, or I wouldn't have been carrying this pattern for a good 25 years if I wasn't being primed for something like truly extraordinary here. But if I got caught in the wave or I tried to stop it, and that's what happens with people who do not have a healthy relationship with their emotional interior. And lucky for you, we have a course on that in the club. It's called Becoming Emotionally Available. And
I also have a very quick little, if like Kelsey's is like the Juji version, mine is a little more rough around the edges because I was like such a dumpster fire with my feelings. Mine is called How to Feel Your Fucking Feelings Masterclass. Yes. Uh-huh. Like it's literally like I full blown share on there how I had like zero connection to what I was feeling. I didn't know anything. I was so disassociated. I was like, feelings? I don't know. I feel fine. Fine. But that's not even a, remember I went to like that's what this lady said. She goes, fine is not a feeling. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm okay. She's like, oh, okay is not a feeling. It's not a feeling. I'm like, good? No, none of these are feelings. And I was like, oh shit. I don't know any, like no idea. And it was that like, that language or like reconnecting with that. So like, you know, Kelsey has those like super smooth, you talk about that, but it's like, you're getting some really great, I think the cool thing about the club and what's the content that's in there is that, you're getting very similar concepts with different ways of being spoken to, you know, and even in some of my courses in there, I have a lot of, let's say topics from, you know, shadow or inner child work or certain different things or intuition and these pieces. And they have like links to other amazing teachers and people who also are speaking about these similar things, but there's short clips around and just said in different ways. So I think the cool thing is you're getting so much, like integration and understanding of these concepts because Kelsey and I are just like, well, this is the one way. This is the way how it's told. This is what you do.
It's the only way we can speak about this.
It's the only way. Like you're getting so many great opportunities to see concepts come up so that they really land. Because for me, that was like it was really important for me to see that.
Same. And it just reminds me of that whole concept of like, there are a million pathways to God. There isn't one way. There's just the way that you walk. And so we want to give you multiple different pathways to play with. So you find the one that's most authentic and true for you, so that all of these pieces can click into place. That you can come back to your wholeness, where you're like, I'm a fucking badass, and I am here to blaze the fuck out of this trail. And like, there is no map that I'm following, because I'm creating the map as I go. And I think that's the one thing that really inspires me about the club, is the women who get kind of magnetized into the vortex of it. They're all these trailblazers. They're change makers. They're, movers and shakers. Like, they are here to carve the new paradigm through their embodied example. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a business. It just means through their being, they are literally casting a ripple of new possibility into the fabric of humanity. And we fucking need that right now. Like, the world is a dumpster fire. It is a fucking mess. And it's not going to get transformed by going back into those old ways of being and trying to do the shit that we've always been doing for fucking millennia that hasn't fucking worked. The only way out of this mess is by blazing a new trail of doing something completely different. And that happens when people are in their embodied wholeness, when they're really, truly like activated in their authentic expression. And they can go through their relationships, and they can show up differently for their children. They can show up differently for their partners, for their parents, their siblings, their grandparents, their neighbors. Like, this is how massive transformation happens. It doesn't happen with these big fucking tectonic shifts. It happens with the micro moment of you with the fucking mailman, where you have this heart to heart, or like this moment of like, I see you, and it forever changes the trajectory of that person's life because of who you are being in that moment. And so in order to have more of those moments and more people embodying those types of moments, we have to look at these parts. We have to look at the shadow side, the dark side of all the stuff that we have learned in order to be good. And I love, going back to the very beginning, when you like kind of found this like personal development princess identity of like, I'm doing all of this in order to get my outcome. Yeah. And if you're doing personal development in order to get something, well, you can be sure that there is a protective part. There's probably your ego tangled up in that too, that's running the show. Because we do, like, when we're in that pocket of truth, we do this work because it's true to do it. Not because we're trying to get something from it. I'm not trying to get a relationship from this. I'm not trying to get $1 million from this. I'm doing it because it's the truest thing for the expression of my soul. Because I want to have availability to all parts of me. And when I'm available to all parts of me, all things become possible. And that's ultimately like how we change the world, and kind of the big scope of what we're up to in the club. And if you have this desire to experience something more for yourself and your life, and you know that there is, your dream life, your dream relationship, your dream body, your dream finances, that your dream expression even, that you can feel it. It's kind of fuzzy in the field, but you know it's there. You can feel it. And you're like, I don't know how to kind of get there. Well, come into the club. Let's play. Let's help you carve your path. And it's not about following our path. We're each walking very individual paths, but we're walking them side by side. We're in it together. And it's that connection and that collaboration, that again, those moments where it's sticky, the moments where we're confronted, we don't jump ship. We keep cruising, knowing that we've got these people in our corner who are going to champion, cheer for us, and also remind us who the fuck we are when we temporarily forget. And to me, like, that is such a magical part of the club and what we're up to. And I'm really excited to see what tectonic shifts happen in the fabric of humanity as a result of these women just standing in their power, just standing in their true, authentic expression, and letting go of some of those identities that they've constructed in order to be the good girl, in order to make it through really challenging things, maybe even personas that we've taken on to try and get something. Like, all of this is very normal, and there's a point where it stops serving us to keep running those patterns. And so if you feel that you're at that juncture, well, we'd love to have you in the club. And you can just head to the show notes and sign yourself up. And we will see you in there.
It's a fucking vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Yeah. I just, yeah. I mean, we're here. We're really realizing this even more the more Kelsey and I, this business, this movement, this frequency unfolds within us. It's so cool to see who shows up and what's happening. We really are. I mean, the amount of, like you said, change makers, trailblazers, the new paradigm shifters. And I think the thing, as you were speaking, Kelsey, that just came through, I just want to add, is that we've gotten to where we are because of our level of consciousness. And I think the work right now in these change makers and what you and I are really helping to do is that we are helping to really just help people excavate what they aren't, in order to remember who the fuck they are and what they came here for and what their special, coding is, or their special message that they have, the medicine they have for the planet. Because it's through that dissolving of all the shame and all the shit and just like the some of the stuff that is holding us back from, and many people come to the club are very self-aware, very self-evolved. We have all different varying levels of people, but it's like the dissolving of more of that. And it kind of happens at hyper speed, because when we are these clear vessels for the universe to work through, like, that's when the message really starts to come through. That's when we start to see more more authentic kindness, but also boundaries. We start to see like really embodied, powerful humans who are connected to source, spirit, God, whatever, but they also are very anchored in the 3D. They can translate. We're not floating up in the spiritual realm where we can't anchor it because our human is just destination fucked and is like a hot mess, right? Or we can't actualize our medicine in our business and make money from it, so we think that maybe we weren't cut out for it. And it's like, no, babe, it has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that, like, there's just some static in the field. So let Kels and I come in, and we're just going to help you, like, zhuzh that up. And it may come through a trigger. You may be triggered by us. I mean, that's a very realistic thing. Kelsey and I have very catalytic, very catalyzing energy. And so, like, that's a good thing. If you come in and you feel something, bravo fucking vo, where you're in the right place. Like, you want to feel. If you are not feeling, you're in your comfort zone. Right? So it's understanding that actual hitting those edges, and through our community, I mean, there's so much healing that's happening. There's so much co-regulation, being seen and heard. I mean, that like dissolves stress and trauma. It drops the nervous system down. Like, when we're in lone wolf mode and we're like, I'll just get it through myself. I mean, I'm speaking from like over here, like lone wolf, like 24/7. I'll do this by myself. I've got this. Or I'll take a master class, and then I'll or a workshop, and I'll be like, I'll have a temporary breakthrough illusion that I'm like, oh, I've had my breakthrough, and I'll just implement it by myself. The old programming and survival comes on very quickly. It's like a sneaky thing that happens. It's like, you don't need that. But I think it's through community and through staying in that, and just like allowing yourself to be in that, and allowing yourself to be supported through community and through showing up is one of the most healing and powerful things. And it allows you to also practice being visible, and it allows you to take up space, and it allows you to just like rapidly clear so much of any of that, like, static that may be holding you back. Because when you're living your dream, rich, juicy fucking life, you are in overflow. You are lit the fuck up. You are in alignment with what God intended for you, God, source, universe. I'm not religious. I don't practice religion, but I am spiritual. But it's like you have a coding, you have a blueprint. So with that static removed, you follow the blueprint. It's like, here's your next step, boo. And you're like, sweet, thanks, but thanks. Okay, I'll go. And then the universe is like, okay, here, I'll go again. And it's like this chess game. You just get to play with each other. And there's a lot more ease. And I know you might be like, yeah, bullshit. I'm telling you, I was a dumpster fire. Like offline, fog, self-righteous. I know I talk about this in past podcast episodes, but back in 2014, before my spiritual awakening, my holy fuck moment, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone was out to get me. The world was a bad place. Everyone, I was the victim. It was just nonstop. And it wasn't until I had that moment, and it's been a path. But I think the cool thing that Kelsey and I talk about is that we have learned so many things through the time and the investments and the decades of sort of of transformational work that we sort of know a lot more about, that we still are learning as well with you. But like, there's so many things that I think can help fast track that process, and it doesn't have to be so arduous. And I think you and I obviously had to move through that process to teach and to be coaches in the things that we are today and to hold space. So I fully trust that, but I think it's cool to see people having massive breakthroughs very quickly in the club because of that calibration as well. Like when somebody believes something, like when somebody comes in and they'll say something and Kelsey and I are like, no bullshit, we can't co-sign that. We love you, but can we show you a different perspective, or can we get you to think about it in a different way? And you just see this like click, 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 click. And like that timeline has collapsed. That could have taken a year, right? It's just like, it's these cool pieces and this calibration. Because when Kelsey and I think because we have no fear for you, because we also don't have fear for ourselves, because we have literally, I'm not saying I'll never get scared, but it's just that like that trust that trust muscle has gotten way stronger than the fear. It doesn't mean I don't experience it, but like there's that trust. And so I think when we trust in you and your evolution and your growth with us, and we're like, oh, you'll be fine, it'll be great, like 100%, like you can just see the person like calibrate to that belief system. And they just, again, you jump timelines in that, because it's like you went from, I don't know, to everyone around you've been like, of course you can. You're like, wait, what? I can? Yes, you're a fucking badass. And here's all the reasons changing. Why. Yeah. Totally. It's like an identity switch scramble very quickly, because we will hold you accountable to your higher self. And in the club, we will hold the human who needs to have the meltdown, and we will also remind you of your most badass fucking, like rich bitch self of like, of course. And you're like, oh yeah, that was quick. I'm back online and I feel more expanded and I have more capacity. And we're also helping expand your capacity for the stuff that's hard. And also we're helping you expand your capacity for good things, because the amount of clients I've worked with, entrepreneurs, people like that, who get dysregulated when they get large sums of money. They're like, oh my God, remember that thing I told you I wanted? Well, I got the thing, and I got the client, and I got this money, but what do I do? Because the system says this is unsafe, this is not okay. Remember, you didn't have this before, and it tries to kick it out. So we're also helping you expand your capacity and container to hold larger amounts of joy, larger amounts of money, larger amounts of like juicy, zhuzhy energy. Because if it's unfamiliar to our thermostat, it is going to try to kick it out and come back into beige zone, which we don't want. We don't want to go back to vanilla. I want the full swirl. I want rainbow. So it's just like, we're helping you expand your capacity of that, which I think is really cool. So anyways, vibes.
Such a vibe. Well, I think we've said all we needed to say on that topic today.
Off we go.
Off we go. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please like it, subscribe, leave us a review. That is super, super helpful. If you want to share it on social media, that is also really helpful, or share it with someone who you think would really benefit from this conversation. We would be endlessly grateful for that. And if you feel the resonance to come into the club, we would love to have you. All the details to join are in the show notes, and you can always reach out to us on social media if you have questions. We're quite accessible, and we'd love to, have those conversations so that you're super clear if this is the thing for you. And then we'll be back next week. Who knows what we'll do? Okay, bye, friends.
Bye.
All in all, we want to say thank you for being here. We love and appreciate you so much. And if you liked today, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll see you next week.
And share it. If you know somebody who needs this in their life, share this shit. Abundance goes round and round. We love you.
We love you. Bye.